What's going on, you guys? It is another episode of the Sci-Fly Zone where the multiverse meets the seventh inning stretch. It's your boys Trent and CJ, and today's destination is the MCU. We're going to be breaking down and discussing the Punisher special presentation, One Last Kill. But before we get into it, if you enjoyed the video, please punish that like button and sub button, as it greatly helps the channel. And also don't forget to check out our shorts content, as it has our video's best and funniest moments. So let's get into it, CJ. Wow, this was brutal.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. It was brutal, it was violent, it was kind of everything I was hoping we would get from this Punisher special. There was a ton of action sequences, it was super exciting, and we also had some good plot lines going with it too. There was a good underlying story that I thought was really nice. So yeah, I was very satisfied with this experience. I've watched it probably about 5 times since it came out last week.
Damn, dude, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I got my fix. I got exactly what I wanted from this presentation. It was great.
Yeah, man. So let's get into it. It opens with Frank seemingly being done with his kill list on the back of his wall, but he's still pushing himself to his absolute limits physically, which kind of reminds me of how hard Batman trains himself to pull off the feats that he does.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's a comparison there for sure. Like, Frank is in incredible physical shape. I'll give him that. He's doing pull-ups until his hands bleed. But his mentality, he is not in a great mental shape at all. He is really going through it. His mind is broken, just feeling like he needs to give up on everything that he's done in the past.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And yeah, like, he might be physically strong, but he is not taking care of his physical health all that much either. I mean, he's chewing Tylenol like they're gummy vitamins, washing it down with bourbon. Like, I know health specialists are just cringing in their seats watching Frank's daily routine, and like, all he's missing here is a cup of coffee, which he literally gets right after this.
Yeah, he's just going down the checklist, getting everything he needs. But yeah, he's doing whatever he can to just keep going.
Yeah. And Frank's health, honestly, is like probably the biggest theme of this whole special presentation. Like, his physical health is declining, but his mental health completely shot. And part of the reason this is the case is not only has he ran out of people to kill after slaying the rest of the Nucci crime family outside of Isabella, aka Ma Nucci, but it's brought him little to no peace. And every day in his mind, he's still at war with himself, his past, and the special presentation is him finding a new reason to not only keep punishing, but now protecting as well, through dealing with the consequences of his past. That being dozens of armed men waging war on the neighborhood of Little Sicily, and Frank having to protect it from a problem that he didn't even think would happen, and now he has to fix it, which I like.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. He was trying really hard to push away this Punisher lifestyle, but it keeps coming and chasing him back. It keeps pulling him back in. He really doesn't have choice but to be the man that he knows he can be and be the Punisher in that sense, whether that be protecting himself or protecting other people as well.
Yeah, it's just an itch that he cannot stop itching. But I honestly feel bad for Frank in this special presentation, because like, existence is literally suffering for this man. And he can't bring himself to end things either, because not only would it dishonor the comrades that he's lost in battle, but it would also dishonor the family that he's lost as well. And I love that Frank at some point was like, you know what, I think I need help, because it's important to realize it and embrace it when you do.
Yeah, that was great. It's the first step, like acknowledging that you need help, that you can't do it alone. And I like that we had those visuals with Curtis and his other friends as well in that apartment room. Also, fun fact, those other 2 Marines that were with Curtis in those visions are actual retired Marines. So I thought that was a pretty cool addition, just to get more insight on like what it's really like for former Marines.
Yeah, dude, that is really cool. I like that they did that a lot. Also, I'm just appalled at the level of scumminess that we see from some of these local criminals of Little Sicily. Like, the scene near the beginning with the guy and the dog, like, oh my gosh. That guy, he instantly went on top of the list for people who needed to be punished. Like, I was wishing for that guy's downfall immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a brutal way for the presentation to start, but I think it did its job perfectly, because immediately made me hate this man and need him to get his comeuppance.
Yeah, he 100% deserved it. And CJ, I have a question for you. And you guys watching this, please give your theories in the comments and help me with this. The reporter on the TV says that the Nuccis were one of the last families linked to Frank Castle's family's murder. I thought Frank and his family were intended to be killed to cover up the illegal activities of CIA Director Rawlins, Colonel Schoonover, aka the Blacksmith, and Billy Russo in Kandahar, hiding it as a drug deal gone wrong between the Dogs of Hell biker gang, the Kitchen Irish, and the Mexican cartel. That's what they went with in The Punisher seasons 1 and 2, and also Daredevil season 2. So I just think it's really interesting how they're adding in the Nucci crime family here. So here's my answer as to how the Nucci crime family is now linked to Frank Castle's family's murder. The Disney timeline is a parallel reality to the Netflix timeline, with very tiny slight differences between them. So the Disney timeline could have simply had the Nucci's be one of the gangs involved in Frank's family's death instead of another gang. Or instead, maybe he just found out off screen that they were involved, and Marvel decided that that realization should just be brushed off screen, and we just go from there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I was a little thrown off by that as well because, as you mentioned, in the Punisher Netflix show, they talk about who was responsible at the time. I do kind of like that theory that it's an alternate or a parallel timeline with some differences because the Manucci character is actually taken from the comics, one of the Frank Castle comics, the Punisher comics, and that storyline was kind of influenced by the comics in a way. So, yeah, I don't know if that was a retcon or just an addition to the story to get them involved in it. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was kind of thrown off about that as well.
Yeah. And when Frank was killing people in Daredevil season 2 when we're first introduced to him, that's like 2015 in the timeline. So it's been over 10 or 12 years since, Frank's been punishing. And I just feel like that's a really long time for people still involved with this family's murder to still be alive. And also, the reporter said one of the few families, not like the last family, like as if there's still somehow more people, even though they showed Frank and his kill list being completely cleared. It's just, it's a little confusing.
Yeah, it was a little confusing, not totally consistent there. I'm not sure what they were going with there, but I think it was an interesting way to introduce Manucci and the Nucci's to the story, kind of giving like that flashback of Frank going over and like assassinating each member of the family, including in front of Manucci's face. That one was particularly brutal. But yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because that is something that I thought about as well.
Yeah. And when Manucci does show up and she's given the whole rundown, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're in a crime family, but I get it. If I were her, if I were in her shoes and I had the option, revenge is a dish best served cold.
Yeah, 100%. You just look at from her conversation with him in that scene and her eyes, and you can see how vengeful she is and how badly she wants to take him out. And they've had their families taken away from them, and they both want to avenge the people who did that.
Yeah, totally. And isn't it interesting how like Frank was gonna like walk away until she started giving more details as if he didn't remember who she was talking about, even though that's one of the families that was linked to your family's death. I feel like you would know who those people are.
Yeah, it didn't really seem to interest him that much. Maybe he felt like he had done everything that he needed to do and didn't need to take her out or see her as a threat, but she changed that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm the one doing the punishing now.
That was such a good line, man. I love that.
Yeah.
She spits in his face too. Not a lot of people can do that and get away with it.
Yeah. And dude, seeing him at the cemetery the first time around was so heartbreaking. I mean, he put his feelings of pain and loneliness into words really well. And John Bernthal portrays the complexities of grief and trauma really well.
Yeah, dude. The way that John Bernthal plays his character is so incredible. I feel like I say it every time you mention The Punisher, but one of the best comic book castings we've gotten probably ever. Just the way that he plays that character, the way that he brings out the humanity and the intensity of that character is incredible. And I love seeing the flashbacks to his children, watching his son play in the pool, reading to his daughter, and then you see right when he's about to end it all, you see a visual hallucination of his daughter standing there in front of him in the cemetery, and that's what like stops him from doing this. And Lisa was also played by John Bernthal's real life daughter, so that was his daughter standing in the cemetery there. They were doing that scene, which just makes it even heavier.
Yeah, dude. And it's tragic, the circumstances that we're seeing these flashbacks, because in that story that he was telling in Daredevil, that's being referenced in this flashback, he was too tired to read to his kids and not give them what they want. And now, in the same manner, he's feeling the same way. He's too tired to give his family what he wants, which is to keep going. He doesn't want to keep going anymore. And I'm just happy his daughter was able to appear in front of him and stop him for a second. But then his mind just fucking betrays him again and makes her disappear after their small little moment. And just like the frustration and denial of love that he was feeling there, it's like so close you can grab it, but then it's just not even there at all in the first place. Like, life is rough for this man.
Yeah, man, it's so heartbreaking. I feel so bad for him. Just watching him sit in that cemetery screaming like "baby, come back." It's so brutal. I mean, I feel so bad for him, man.
Yeah. And dude, speaking of visions, when he was walking past his old self, that was pretty cool. Like it literally resembles the past catching up with it because right after this scene, Manucci shows up.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was a great visual, just showing that no matter how hard he tries to run and how hard he tries to give it up, it keeps catching up to him, and his past keeps reminding him of the person that he is and the person that he needs to be.
Yeah. But before Frank starts going to town on everybody, we got a cameo from Karen. Very cool. I know the fan base that ships Karen and Frank was very happy to see this. And also, for you guys out there, Karen was wearing the same hoodie that his wife was wearing in the flashback as well. So you tell me what that means.
Yeah, yeah, man. This was, I mean, it was so great seeing Karen back with Frank. They have such a special relationship and such a unique relationship between the two of them. And I mean, as usual, Deborah Ann Wool absolutely crushed the scene that she was in. She did an incredible job, just the intensity that she brought to it as well. Kind of acting as like his consciousness, but also his guilt. How he came back from the war and immediately goes out and tries to like find purpose away from his family, like rather than taking the time to spend with his family that he can. And man, when he asks if she's here and she says, "Yeah, I'm always here," and they hug, I genuinely thought that she was in that room. That was the only time that we saw a visual hallucination of Frank's make contact with him. And they hugged and they embraced. And then she says, "What time is it?" He looks at the clock at 6:47, the time that Manucci said that everybody would be coming for him. Cut back to Frank, and she's gone. Just so sad, man.
But she was there to serve her purpose in his mind because she's always there, but only when he needs her.
Absolutely.
So once shit starts hitting the fan, John Bernthal gets set on fire, and this really happened. He actually got set on fire for this scene. So when he's screaming, running through the door, he is literally screaming, and he's in pain.
Yeah, this was pretty insane. That was a clip that we saw in the trailer. I didn't think that it was a practical shot, but yeah, they had mentioned like John actually did this. They actually set him on fire. He jumps through that door, literally through the door, and just goes absolutely at it.
Yeah. And speaking of shots done for real, there was a shot that was done for real, but then they did some CGI, and now the whole MCU community is like, why is Joel from The Last of Us in this presentation? What are we doing here?
Yeah, that was an unfortunate shot for sure. I didn't notice it like in the moment because I was so caught up in like, oh my god, Frank Castle's jumping off a building and shooting someone in the head. Thought it was really cool. And then after seeing it a couple more times and seeing the complaints online, I was like, okay, I can understand where people are coming from. They could have maybe patched that up a little bit more.
Yeah, and they shot it for real. So like I mean obviously you can't have him like land for real on a real thing, but like you can make one that looks real and have it. I don't know. They could have done it better. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's Disney, it's Marvel. Some of the stunts that we've seen get pulled off, how realistic they look are pretty impressive. So yeah, I think this is one that they probably could have nailed down a little more.
Yeah, we're just like so deep into like a high standard that like when something like that happens, it's
We're spoiled, you know? Yeah.
yeah, we're so spoiled. So, what did you think of the kill spree?
I thought this was incredible, man. I thought it was some of the best action sequences I've seen in Marvel in a long time. I loved him like exploring throughout the entire apartment complex, like multiple floors, jumping off of balconies while being chased down and while like taking out all of these goons. And I also like that when he goes to the cemetery earlier on, we see him place the key to his guns. That means that when everybody comes for him, he has no access to his guns. So he can't shoot people with his guns that he owns. So he has to take someone out and then use their guns on the other guys. And when he runs out of ammo, you got to pick up another gun. You can't reload. You got no ammo. Got to find something else. You got to make it work in some way. And I think it was a great way to show how like trained Frank Castle is with different types of weapons and how much experience he has with like war and with fighting. I thought it was great, man. It was just there are way too many kills to describe specifically, but there were some incredible ones. I mean, when he's in the apartment, he knocks a guy down on his back. Someone else comes up and runs at him with an axe, trying to hit him.
I was thinking that exact one. I'm
Dude,
not even kidding.
it was like one of the first ones. He dodges the axe, it hits the guy on the ground, and then he smacks the guy holding the axe in the back of the head, and he goes chest first through the back of the axe. Do you know how hard you have to hit someone for them to get stabbed with the dull part of the axe? That was insane. That was
Yeah.
absolutely insane. There was just, yeah, man. It was so much great action.
Yeah. Frank cooked 100%.
Absolutely.
I loved it too. The action was awesome. And dude, they throw a lot of people off ledges.
It was a lot of, yeah. If you don't like heights, you might have not loved a couple scenes because they were falling off there. There were definitely a couple of them getting thrown off.
You could definitely say a lot of them were in the heights for sure.
Yeah, but not for long though, because they hit the ground after a little bit.
But my main takeaway from this, from like what's the lesson? What did we learn here? The main takeaway is the little girl that Frank protected at the coffee shop, because the moment he decided to protect her was also a moment where he could have ran the other way and gone after Manucci instead and resolved this whole thing once and for all. But just like when Daredevil decided to save Angela instead of killing Muse when he had the chance, he decides to save the little girl and her family instead of killing Manucci when he had the chance. You know what? On some hero shit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love this. This was a crucial part to Frank Castle's character. He had the opportunity. He had the shot. He could have taken out Manucci there, but then he hears the little girl Charlie from the donut shop earlier screaming for her dad, and then he hears Lisa, his own daughter, screaming for him as well, and he just connects the dots there, and it's like he's transferring the value, not necessarily transferring the value from his daughter to Charlie, but he's finding purpose again. And I wasn't able to protect my family and stop this from happening, but that doesn't mean I can't stop it from happening to other people as well. I can still make a change, and I can still make other people's lives better than mine, and not make them go down the path that I am also going down.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that is really special because in season 2 of Daredevil, Frank mentions to Matt, like, about killing people and taking lives. Once you make that decision, once you cross that line, you can't go back. You're a changed person forever. So for Frank to be the one to take on that burden for other people was really special.
Yeah. So the little girl that Frank does protect at the coffee shop, she gave him a flower. This is very symbolic because this is the first token that he's gotten from someone that he's protected and not somebody that he's taken away, which honestly seems to have changed his whole outlook on this vigilante thing. And now we might see Frank getting involved in stopping crime again, but not for himself and not to avenge his family, but to protect his part of town, which we'll probably see more in Spider-Man Brand New Day as well. And thank God he killed the dog guy.
Yeah, thank God for that. We were waiting for that, and I'm glad that he did get his comeuppance. I was waiting that from the start of the presentation. So yeah, that was very satisfying to see for sure.
Yeah, when that guy was like, "That's not all he took," I was like, "No, snitch on him. Say it all. Say he took your life." I mean, he honestly did, but say it all. This guy deserves to be.
Yeah, it was great, man. I love how there's no hesitation in Frank too. The guy doesn't even directly say that he killed my dog. He said that's not all he took from me, and then Frank turns to go, "Okay, bet. Let me take him out for you. I got you."
Say less. Let me tell you something.
He's like, I mean, I already killed this many people. Might as well take another one.
Yeah, literally, and he's not gonna stop now either.
Oh no, absolutely. He is back in the deep end. He is Frank Castle Punisher once again, and I cannot wait to see what he does in Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Same. So now, before we get out of here, let's do a kill count. 3, 2, 1, boom. So, CJ, final thoughts and an overall score.
Final thoughts. I mean, I'm very satisfied. I thought this was so much fun. The action absolutely crushed it. The story absolutely crushed it. I cared about Frank the whole time, even though it was a little short. I mean, we're kind of ranking an episode of Daredevil, but I would still give this like probably an 8.4, maybe an 8.5. I was thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, I would give it a 7, like a 7.8. I can't go quite an 8 just because I kind of wish they explained how the Nucci's were involved in his family's death a bit more, because that's like Frank's family's death is the whole reason he is the person he is today, and the fact that he is still able to survive beyond that. So, adding a brand new layer to that this deep into the timeline, this is very interesting for me because I look through all the transcripts of the Punisher episodes, and the Nucci crime family is rarely involved in the actual story revolving around his family. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point. It was definitely a bit of a stumble there or a stutter in a way, bringing them in this late to the story. But I do think that she was a really interesting character too. I think she
yeah.
brought some good intensity, and I like the scenes that it added with her as well.
Yeah, 100% no. She definitely added a lot more layers to the story for sure. Just a little bit of explanation would have made this thing a 9 for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally fair for sure. So the title, what do you think about One Last Kill? What do you think this means?
Honestly, before when I saw the trailer, my theory was One Last Kill meant it was really dark theory. Precursor, dark theory. I thought because Frank lost his daughter, lost his family, and then he seemingly has formed a connection with the coffee shop daughter, right? So I thought because Frank was gonna try not to punish, try and be a better guy, handle things differently, that girl was gonna unfortunately die from the circumstances. And then so like the one last kill was gonna be like the one last kill that he let happen on his watch because he could have done better, but he didn't. So now going forward, he's gonna be like more brutal and taking less time to think and more time to act. But now, with that obviously not happening, thank God he was able to protect the girl. I'm thinking now, one last kill could be, maybe he's still got to get Manucci down the line. Like, she's still going to be around because he obviously left her alive. So she's like the one last kill that he needs to kind of move on from this, but he's still moving on regardless.
That makes sense. Yeah, I like that. That would be an understandable reason for them to introduce the Manucci character kind of as that symbol for his last kill, potentially even setting up a season 3 of Punisher. Who knows? We'll see.
Punisher Born Again.
Exactly. Yeah. My theory is kind of similar to that. I feel like the title "One Last Kill" is kind of an anti-title because obviously we know it's not his last kill. But this Punisher vigilante lifestyle for Frank is almost like an addiction for him. And with other forms of addiction, like you think like alcohol addiction or something similar to that, you hear the phrase in media a lot. Oh, just one more drink, just one last drink, and then I'm done. I will never go back. I'm moving on. And Frank has tried so many times to move on from that lifestyle. And here he is given the situation to try to protect these people. And he thinks, okay, just one last kill, and then I can be done. And then I can put the lifestyle away. But no matter how hard he tries, he keeps getting roped back in. And life keeps finding a reason to bring him back to the Punisher lifestyle. Because, again, as he said to Matt Murdock in season 2 of the Daredevil series, which I keep mentioning, but there's a lot of parallels to it. This is this vigilante lifestyle, and bringing people to justice in his way is what makes him whole, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just this is who he is, and I really like that theory because yeah, this is my last one. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm quitting, and then you always go back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a brutal cycle, but they've shown how many times he's tried to move on and he just can't bring himself to cross that line.
Yeah, I mean he's kind of like Iron Man trying not to be Iron Man.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I like that. I like that a lot. I'm with that.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So that's been the Punisher special presentation. Next time we'll see him is gonna be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Hopefully him and the webhead can get some stuff done. That'd be cool.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for that. It's going to be so much fun. We have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about coming up in the future, and it's going to be a really good summer for superheroes.
Hell yeah. So, if you guys enjoyed this episode of the Sci-Fi Zone, please hit that like button, hit that sub button. Make sure to check out the other shows that we've covered, other movies that we've covered. We also cover baseball content. I know we haven't had a lot of baseball videos lately. There's just been so much outside stuff going on, but that's the beauty of baseball. It's a 162 game season. We can be covering this stuff till October. Guys, do not worry. We will, baseball fans, you guys will get your fix. Do not worry. We appreciate your patience though. But yeah, we will see you guys on the next episode and we hope you have a good one. Peace.